There are people who are responsible for the fact that pornography is now a legitimate form of public entertainment. Number one, the lobby of lawyers who work for the pornographers. The fact that the pornographers pay lawyers big bucks to fight for them, not just in the courts, but in the public dialogue. The fact that lawyers interpret constitutional principles in light of the profit interests of the pornographers. Number two, the collusion of the American Civil Liberties Union with the pornographers, which includes taking money from them. It includes using buildings that they own and not paying rent. It includes using pornography and benefits to raise money for them. It includes not defending them in court, but doing publicity for them, including organizing events for them, as the Hugh M. Hefner First Amendment Awards is organized by ACLU people for Playboy. It includes publishing in their magazines, both the lawyers and the writers. It includes deriving great private economic benefit from working privately for the pornographers while publicly pretending to be a disinterested advocate of civil liberties and free speech. And I want you to contrast the behavior of the ACLU in relation to the pornographers with their activities in relation to the Klan and the Nazis. They pretend to understand that they're all equally pernicious. But do they publish in the Klan newsletter? No. Do they go to Nazi social events? No. Do they go to cocktail parties at Nazi headquarters? No, they don't, at least not yet. Finally, they have colluded in this sense, that they have convinced many of us that the standard for speech is what I would call a repulsion standard. That is to say, we find the most repulsive person in the society and we defend them. And I say we find the most powerless people in the society, and we defend them. And that's the way we increase rights of speech in this society. Another group that colludes to legitimize pornography are publishers and the so-called legitimate media. They pretend to believe that under this system of law there is a First Amendment that is indivisible and absolute, which it has never been. As you know, the First Amendment protects speech that has already been expressed from state interference. That means it protects those who own media. There is no affirmative responsibility to open communications to those who are powerless in the society at large. As a result, the owners of media, the newspapers, the TV networks are comfortable with having women's bodies defined as the speech of pimps because they are protecting their rights to profit as owners, and they think that that's what the First Amendment is for. I'm ashamed to say that people in my profession, writers, have also colluded with the pornographers. We provide their so-called socially redeeming value, and they wrap the tortured bodies of women in the work that we do. Politicians have colluded with the pornographers in municipalities all over this country, and they do it in these ways. Zoning laws do not keep pornography out of cities. They are an official legal permission to traffic in pornography. And as a result, politicians are able to denounce pornography moralistically while protecting it through zoning laws. They impose it on poor neighborhoods, on working class neighborhoods, on neighborhoods where people of color live, and all of those people have to deal with the increase in crime, the terrible harassment, the degradation of the quality of life in their neighborhoods, and the politicians get to protect the property values of the rich. There is an equal protection issue here, why the state makes some people pay so that other people can profit. But that has never been raised. We've never been able to sue a city under the equal protection theory of this because lawyers are on the other side. Lawyers belong primarily to pornographers, and the people who live in these neighborhoods that are saturated with pornography are powerless people. They don't even have power in their own municipalities. In addition, in municipalities, what pornographers do is that they buy land that is targeted for development by cities. They hold that land hostage. They develop political power through negotiating around that land. They make huge profits, and they get influence in local city governments. Not finally, but next to the last, a great colluder with the pornographers was the last presidential commission. They were very effective in legitimizing pornography in this country. They appeared to be looking for a proverbial axe murderer who would watch pornography and within 24 to 48 hours go out and kill someone in a horrible and clear way. The country is saturated with pornography and saturated with violence against women and saturated with the interfacing of the two, and they didn't find it. None of the scientific research that they relied on to come to their conclusions is worth anything today. It's all invalid. I ask you to take seriously the fact that society does not exist in a laboratory, that we're talking about real things that happen to real people, and that's what we're asking you to take some responsibility for. And finally, the ultimate colluders in the legitimizing of pornography, of course, are the consumers. In 1979, we had a $4 billion a year industry in this country. By 1985, it was an $8 billion a year industry. Those consumers include men in all walks of life: lawyers, politicians, writers, professors, owners of media, police, doctors, maybe even commissioners on presidential commissions. No one really knows, do they? And no matter where we look, we can't find the consumers. But what we learned is the meaning of first-class citizenship. And the meaning of first-class citizenship is that you can use your authority as men and as professionals to protect pornography, both by developing arguments to protect it and by using real social and economic power to protect it. And as a result of all of this, the harm to women remains invisible. Even though we have the bodies, the harm to women remains invisible. Underlying the invisibility of this harm is an assumption that what is done to women is natural. That even if a woman is forced to do something, somehow it falls within the sphere of her natural responsibilities as a woman. When the same things are done to boys, those things are perceived as an outrage. They are called unnatural. But if you force a woman to do something that she was born to do, then the violence to her is not perceived as a real violation of her. In addition, the harm to women of pornography is invisible because most sexual abuse still occurs in private, even though we have this photographic documentation of it called the pornography industry. Women are extremely isolated. Women don't have credibility. Women are not believed by people who make social policy. In addition, the harm of pornography remains invisible because women have been historically excluded from the protections of the Constitution. And as a result, the violations of our human rights, when they don't occur in equal and opposite numbers to men, have not been recognized or taken seriously, and we do not have remedies for them under law. In addition, pornography is invisible in its harm to women because women are poorer than men, and many of the women exploited in pornography are very poor. Many of them are illiterate. And because there is a great deal of female compliance with brutality, and the compliance is based on fear, it's based on powerlessness, and it is based on a reaction to the very real violence of the pornographers. And finally, the harm is invisible because of the smile. Because women are made to smile. Women aren't just made to do the sex acts. We're made to smile while we do them. And so you will find in pornography women penetrating themselves with swords or daggers, and you will see the smile. You will see things that cannot be done to a human being, that are done only to men in political circumstances of torture, and you will see a woman forced to smile. And the smile will be believed, and the injury to her as a human being, to her body, and to her heart, and to her soul will not be believed. Now, we have been told that we have an argument here about speech, not about women being hurt. And yet the emblem of that argument is a woman bound and gagged, and we're supposed to believe that that's speech. Who is that speech for? We have women being tortured, and we're told that that's somebody's speech. Whose speech is it? It's the speech of a pimp. It's not the speech of a woman. The only words we hear in pornography from women are that women want to be hurt, ask to be hurt, like to be raped, get sexual pleasure from sexual violence. And even when a woman is covered in filth, we're supposed to believe that her speech is that she likes it and she wants more of it. The reality for women in this society is that pornography creates silence for women. The pornographers silence women.